Apparently one of the hardest wood types to work with when finishing whiskey. Hardwood. Let's drink some whiskey. Welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. Whiskey Chaser Brian, Christy's Bar. Hope you're keeping well. So a while back, well, it was more than 2 months ago at this stage, I did one of my all-time favorite whiskeys, which was the Irishman 17. It's an iconic whiskey at this stage, but someone had commented underneath the video, "Hey Brian, why don't you do a Writer's Tears whiskey for one of your shows?" Okay. Now, many people outside Ireland might not know this, but Writer's Tears is a second brand from Walsh Whiskey, which released the Irishman whiskies too, hence the connection. So yeah, this is the Writer's Tears Mizunara finished Irish whiskey from Walsh Whiskey. Actually, to be politically correct, I believe the technical name for this whiskey is the Writer's Tears Copper Pot Japanese Cask Finished Irish Whiskey. I just call it the Mizunara for short. It's easier. Originally released in 2019 to celebrate the Rugby World Cup in Japan and limited to only 2 casks at the time that could be purchased either in the Loop whiskey shops in Dublin or Cork airports. Nearly forgot about that. So that would make this an airport exclusive. Yeah. Except that no, you can now find these online if you look hard enough or just type into the Google search bar. It'll come up handy enough. Upon initial release, there were 2 casks released for the Rugby World Cup, but then in 2020, there was another cask released with rumors of a 4th to be on its way. But this here is part of the first original release in the original design packaging. More on the design packaging shortly. So the Writer's Tears brand is the side to Walsh Whiskey that's a little bit more daring and experimental, hence the Japanese cask finish, but they do also have a wide catalogue of other interesting cask finishes. I think there was a cognac cask, Florio Marsala, there was a couple of others as well. So the idea behind this is said to be traditional in that this is a blended whiskey, but a throwback to what was once considered the Irish champagne of blended whiskey. This is a blend of single malt and single pot still Irish whiskies, said to be favorited by early 19th and 20th century Irish novelists, poets, and playwrights. You see, back in those days, Ireland was a leading whiskey production nation in the world and the birthplace of literary giants, including writers such as George Bernard Shaw, Oscar Wilde, W.B. Yeats, Lady Gregory, James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, and Bram Stoker. Some heavy hitters in there. One could probably learn a thing or two from them, to be fair. Moving on. So why then Japanese Mizunara casks? When doing my research for this, I came to the understanding that it's meant to be an extremely hard wood to work with. As in, it's a cooper's nightmare. The wood warps, it leaks, and is incredibly expensive to produce as the tree doesn't actually grow vertically, it more branches out in clusters and forms a tremendous amount of knots in the wood. You should hopefully see a picture on the screen right now of just what I'm talking about. I even read on one forum that when you purchase a cask of this, a bottle of resin is supplied by the cooperage so you can cover the cask in it to prevent any leakages. It's rarely used outside of Japan in whiskey production. Again, brought about to celebrate the Rugby World Cup played in Japan. So it will probably come at no surprise then that this is a rather expensive bottle of whiskey, coming in at around 100 euros. Originally, like I said, for travel retail only, but I've seen a few online and yeah, they're still available. There's even one on the Writer's Tears website with the new label redesign, which is pretty cool too, as it was only launched in November of 2020, the label redesign, and I haven't even seen a bottle in the wild yet personally with the new label design. I'll leave a link below. So at this stage you might be asking, well, what do you get for 100 euros? Well, you get a non-age statement, 55% cask strength, single cask blended whiskey comprising of malt and pot still whiskies, initially matured in bourbon barrels and spending the last 9 months of its life in Japanese Mizunara casks. Hence the name. Now, me personally, I'm expecting big flavors. I'm expecting quite a dense spirit, lots of spice, oily, vibrant yumminess. We should get this into a glass and onto the palate. Wait, stop though, before we do. Have you subscribed yet? No? Why not? If you have, well then thank you kindly. Stay up to date here, people. I'm bringing you the very best of the best. And don't be silly. Like, subscribe, and do yourself that favor. You can thank me later by buying me a dram at the bar when you eventually get here. And we pour, and we spilled half of it. I made a little bit of a mess. We'll have to drink that. So this is not the first time I've had this whiskey. Upon its release back in 2019, I think it was, I was lucky enough to be traveling through the airport and picked up a bottle, but it has been a while since I've had it. I haven't had it since then. Excuse me. Let's revisit those sweet memories. This, my friends, is bottle number 174 of 685, cask number 1102. All right, so on the nose. First of all, hello spice. A lot of spice. And that is one thing I do remember about this whiskey is just how spice forward it was on the nose. It's quite fresh. Some clove stands out for me at first. Then a kind of touch of kind of vanilla-y. There's another interesting kind of fruit note in behind there, but I can't quite make out exactly what it is. A little bit on the florally side. Level this up, cilantro. Very oily. Lots of spice, lots of spice. There's like wood chip shavings, kind of that fresh, maybe like pine kind of note wood shavings. It's kind of like that crisp biteness of cut wood, the best sense, if I can make an example. So the tiniest hint of a floral note coming across at the end of it. It's not incredibly complex. You know, it's very much as you would expect from a young pot still whiskey. It's a lot of cinnamon spice, white pepper spice. On the finish, a little bit woody, a little bit vanilla-y. It's given away to the heat, a touch of bitterness at the end. I'm gonna add a touch of water. A little bit of water kind of opens up the nose a little bit, gives way more kind of rounded flavor, a little bit more fruits on the nose. That cloviness is gone, tapers down the spice a touch. Definitely getting more of a floral kind of incensey note coming through towards the end of it. Like not a potpourri, but more of an incense, I would say. That wood bitiness is kind of tamed a little bit, but it's still there. Cilantro. Palate-wise, more of those malt fruit notes coming through. The wood character. The spice has a bit of build up at the back and then takes over slightly. Little more vanilla kind of on the finish. Interesting dram. So I remember the last time I had this and I absolutely loved it. I raved about it. But I don't think so much this time around now that I'm having it. And you know, I do hate saying that about whiskey. I only really enjoyed it when I added those few drops of water, as it really opened up the nose much more. You get way more of the Mizunara notes coming through with just a hint of water or a touch of water. Sad to say that, but it is what it is. I wouldn't mind seeing this bottled at a lesser strength, I think. I love cask drinks, but not sure does it suit this one particularly or for my palate. Amazing really how tastes change over time. I used to love this, but I may revisit the Florian Marsala cask version of this and see what I think of that now. And I haven't had that in a while, but I might have a different opinion of it now that my palate has changed over time. So as always, thanks to the lads here at Christy's for the sample, and all thoughts are my own. I'm gonna have to leave it there for this week. Until next time, stay safe, stay hydrated. Chaser, out. Cilantro.